Before we begin, I'd like to explain why these two videos took longer than usual. And keep in mind, I'm going to be starting the other video right after this one is uploaded. So, for my 1000th video, I wanted to do something special and something that I've never done before. And that was to review an anime. Yep. I finally decided to review an anime because I wanted to stay true to the Otaku Bandito name. Yeah, I was considering on reviewing Dragon Ball Z, or Dragon Ball Z, but we'll call it Dragon Ball Z because that's what a lot of people know it as. But it wasn't one of the first mainstream anime as I had discovered. Yeah, it was the show that made anime popular, but it wasn't one of the first, as I thought it would be. So I did my research, and it turns out that Speed Racer is the first ever mainstream anime in the West. Yeah, Speed Racer, so that's why I settled on Speed Racer instead. And I chose an episode to review, and it was The Car Destroyer, because it was one of the more highly rated episodes of Speed Racer on IMDb. I didn't have some of the DVDs where the mammoth car was there. So that's the one I had to review. I'll get to the mammoth car if some people want me to review it, because I'm sure it's a good episode. I remember watching it when I was younger. It was a really good episode. So yeah, that's why it took longer. And not to mention, that special video took like a few days just to complete. It took really long. Mainly because I had to watch the episode, write the scripts, then rewatch the episode to take the screenshots, put those screenshots into the video itself because of YouTube copyright laws, and you're not allowed to have like full episodes posted on YouTube. Yeah, I'm not a fan of the YouTube copyright system. A lot of people don't really like it. So yeah, that's what I had to do as a workaround, and that took a long time, not to mention the upload took a really long time, but it did get uploaded, and I'm glad I had it as my 1000th video. But anyways, let's head on over to the Chicago double feature, shall we? Because that's what we came here to talk about. Greetings, NASCAR enjoyers, and welcome to the first part of the Chicago double feature. We entered the Chicago street course for what might be the final time that we'll ever have the Chicago street course races in both series. But anyways, the 2025 Loop 110 begins with SVG jumping to the lead, and Austin Hill falls back to third after a not-so-good launch. Creed is running in second, and he's right behind SVG. Wait, what? Well, to be fair, he did race the Stadium Super Trucks. Nick Sanchez moves up to 6th, and Zilich makes an attempt to move for the field. Creed attempts to get past SVG, but fails to do so, as he defends the lead from him with contact, as the track itself is narrow. Ryan Sieg then makes an early pit stop to get his car repaired. Austin Hill just can't get past Creed as the track doesn't allow for many passing opportunities. Again, it's not a next-gen problem. Jack Perkins also spun out and caused the first caution. Oh, come on! He wasn't anywhere near the other drivers! SVG might also have issues with his car. William Sawalich also has troubles with his car, and that's why an extra lap gets added to the caution. Dang it! He had to get pushed and is now out of the race. Good lord, JGR is not having any luck here so far. But anyways, the caution ends with SVG jumping to the lead yet again. Zilich then moves up to 14th while trying not to damage his car. Connor Mosak then brakes too late and nearly hits the wall. Thankfully, he gets his car reversed and no caution is thrown. Yeah, about that. They give you a limited amount of time for you to back out of the other drivers if the caution is thrown, which is kind of, in my opinion, not fair. I mean, 30 seconds is not enough time to think Yeah, NASCAR just has a lot of rules. He also has a blown tire. Meanwhile, Zilich has moved up to 11th and is now in 10th. Taylor Gray comes down to pit road during green. Several drivers then come down to pit road during green, and Gray gets penalized for entering too fast. Dang it! Brad Perez then hits the wall, and the stage ends under caution because of this. Not another one. SVG wins the first stage of the race, but anyway, several drivers come down to pit road and Sheldon Creed wins the race off pit road. Oddly enough, SVG decides to stay out. The second stage begins with SVG making an impressive jump to the lead once more. Jesse overtakes Jeb for second. Good thing SVG is still leading. SVG's lead gap has now increased to 7 seconds. There's just no stopping him. DiBurrito then hits the tire barrier, but no caution was thrown as he was able to get out just in time. Another driver also got a penalty thrown at him for a tire violation, and the caution just came out for debris. I just hope that Jesse doesn't get past SVG here. Fingers crossed. SVG decided to pit in and gives up the lead to Jesse Love. Here's to hoping that Creed gets past Jesse. And Josh Bilicki's out of the race as his car starts having issues. You gotta be kidding me. At least things couldn't get any worse, right? The caution ends with Jesse Love jumping to the lead. Thankfully, Creed manages to get past him. Yeah, you show him. Zilich jumped up to 4th while SVG gets past Harrison and Sanchez. Sheldon Creed wins the second stage of the Xfinity Series race at Chicago. Several drivers pit in during the stage caution, and this time there's no race off the pit road. But anyways, with just 18 to go, the third and final stage begins with Sheldon Creed jumping to the lead while SVG moves up to 7th, and Josh Williams hits the tire barrier and causes yet another caution! He even gets involved with Taylor Gray. The caution ends with Sheldon Creed holding off Austin Hill to defend the lead while he also has to deal with Zilich. And then all of a sudden, just when Zilich jumps up to the lead, Reslov loses control! But no caution is thrown as he was able to drive away. SVG jumps up to 5th, and there's no signs of him slowing down. And he's now in 4th. SVG keeps jumping up and then runs down Austin Hill, who tries to block, but isn't successful at doing so as he's forced into a mistake. Sheldon Creed was like, no way, I'm not gonna mess with you, and lets SVG pass him for second. Meanwhile, Allgaier has brake issues and had to come down to pit road. And another caution just came out with Castro crashing into the tire barrier. During the caution, we also get an interview with both Zilich's and SVG's crew chiefs. But anyways, it's a 2-lap shootout with SVG and Zilich, and they go neck and neck. SVG manages to take the lead away from Zilich. With 2 to go, all he has to do is not make any mistakes and take it to victory lane while having to deal with Zilich. And just like that, SVG wins his second Xfinity race at Chicago. Even though I don't like seeing bushwhackers win, I think SVG winning here was worth it to keep his winning streak going. This race gets an 8 out of 10. Not as good as last year's race, but I still think it's great to watch. But anyways, on to the Cup race. Let's hope that SVG takes home a doubleheader victory. Greetings, NASCAR enjoyers, and welcome to the second part of the Chicago double feature, where it might be the last time that NASCAR will race in the Chicago street course. Derek Rose would be the special guest to give off the command to start their engines. After we get an explanation of how the cool shirt works, this year's Chicago street course race begins with SVG and McDowell battling for the lead. Even Reddick tries to get past him. Briscoe manages to get past Hocevar. So far, Gisbergen is not getting past McDowell. And then a pileup causes our first caution of the day. Hopefully this will shake things up. Because of the wreck being severe, the race gets red flagged. The race goes back to yellow and Boucher comes down to pit road. The caution ends with McDowell jumping to the lead yet again, but this time SVG is closer behind. SVG starts running him down and the battle for the lead continues. Well, McDowell was part-time in the Champ Car World Series one time, so he knows how to turn right. I mean, he's been in the Mexico City race, and yes, I did look up Michael McDowell's career, by the way. He was an impressive road racer once and raced in Champ cars. Those things are hard to drive with the twin turbocharged V8s. Bowman loses control and is safe as he makes it to the track just in time. Taco Bell comes down to pit road. Yep, that's Christopher Bell's nickname, by the way. Get used to it. SVG is next to join in to flip the stage, and Bell gets penalized for exiting pit road too fast. McDowell wins the first stage of the 2025 Chicago Street Course race. Of course, several drivers pit in during the stage caution as always. The second stage begins with McDowell continuing to lead. SVG gets past John Hunter Nemechek, but struggles to get past Gibbs. He eventually gets past Gibbs and is running down AJ and Chastain. He gets past AJ and now has to deal with Chastain. He gets past Chastain with no problem at all. Well, he's his teammate, so it's to be expected. I mean, teammates always work together. Meanwhile, Reddick gets past Bushi for second, while SVG continues to move for the field. Nothing can stop SVG, not even Bushi. Josh Berry hits the wall and tries to get back on the track. Meanwhile, SVG is getting faster and faster. As expected, the caution comes out as Berry is unable to get his car back on the track. Thus, his car had to be towed to the garage. Because Reddick pitted in, SVG is now in second. McDowell comes down to pit road as his throttle just got stuck, which means he might be out of the race. And that's why he had to come down to pit road. So all chances of him winning are now gone. The caution ends with SVG and AJ battling for the lead, and SVG managed to clear him. Blaney forces Bushi to lose control, and I'm glad he hasn't caused the caution, as that would ruin SVG's chances of winning. AJ and SVG continue to battle for the lead, and we finally get someone who could be considered a worthy opponent to him. McDowell is now headed to the garage to get his car fixed. Even with 9 to go on the second stage, SVG is not slowing down. He's just that fast, and that's why I always root for him on road courses. Ryan Preece also comes down to pit road. Catherine Lage also loses control, but this time she made it out and didn't cause a caution. Thank fudge. SVG comes down to pit road and gives up the lead to AJ. AJ is next to come down to pit road and has a slow pit stop, which allows SVG to get past him, but oh well. At least he's still ahead of Gibbs. Ryan Blaney wins the second stage of the Chicago Street Course race of 2025. Several drivers come down to pit road, and Chase Elliott has damage done to his car that needed to be repaired. Rain is close by, and this might affect the outcome of this race. The third and final stage begins with Briscoe jumping to the lead, and Reddick is right behind him. SVG has jumped up to 6th and is now in 5th. SVG continues to jump up while he has to deal with Gibbs and Hamlin. Newsflash! SVG just got past Hamlin and is coming closer to Reddick and Briscoe. Alex Bowman comes down to pit road while SVG is running down Reddick. SVG gets past Reddick and is now right behind Briscoe. And just like that, SVG got past Briscoe and is now in the lead. And then all of a sudden, another caution just came out. It wasn't for weather, but an issue with one of the fans watching the race itself, which is rare. Yeah, it's rare that a caution comes out for a fan. Yeah, a person in attendance. Several drivers come down to pit road, but SVG stays out. But anyways, the unusual caution ends with SVG jumping to the lead, and chaos ensues. Stenhouse spun out and got into the wall, but no caution had been thrown, despite having a loose wheel. The caution still came out as Cindric can't get moving. Dang it! This will surely affect the outcome of the race. Don't let Ty Gibbs win this one. Please, I don't want to see him win. The caution ends with SVG managing to clear Gibbs, but not without some contact. Yeah, Ty Gibbs, you just gotta stop being aggressive towards SVG. You're not gonna try to win against him, because SVG is a road course veteran, and you don't mess with a road course veteran. And Briscoe just blew a tire, but no caution had been thrown. And then Bubba Wallace spins out when more chaos ensues. Bell and Larson continue to go at it with 5 laps to go, and Bell just lost control. Thankfully, no caution had been thrown. Reddick gets past Hamlin for third with just 3 to go, but it might be too late as SVG's lead gap keeps increasing. The Arby's car hits the tire barrier, but when the white flag is thrown, the race ended under a caution. Yeah, don't you hate it when that happens? For that reason alone, it gets an 8 out of 10, as much as I hate seeing races end under a caution. SVG was still going to win regardless. It gets a point knocked off for the race ending under a caution, but I'm still glad he got his doubleheader victory, and that's good enough for me. But anyways, this is me signing off. If you want to see last year's Chicago Street Course races, here are the links. And no, SVG didn't win last year's race because of an incident with rain. But don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and hit that notification bell just in case you hadn't already done so. Catch you guys next time, and peace out.